I'm the prop queen, Ariel Epstein, joined as always by John Jastremski and Raheem Palmer. JJ, you had a huge week this week, and I'm not even talking about gambling. You're an uncle. Congratulations.
Thank you, Ariel. And, I did have a huge week 14 for what it's worth. I felt great about my picks. I felt wonderful to go home to pay dirt with winner here, winner there. And it's been an up and down 2025 season. But yeah, it pales in comparison to little Vincent. So yeah, Ellie now has a cousin Vinny. Life is good for the Jastremskis. And it is going to be, Raheem and Ariel, a wild holiday season, not just with all the movings and shakings in the NFL playoff picture, but two of the Rugrats separated by 7 months. It's amazing.
Raheem, we have to make JJ some money because he's got a lot to spend over the holidays.
Oh, most definitely, most definitely. I mean, if you keep betting the Houston Texans, we're gonna make some money. So
the Ringer Gambling Show is presented by FanDuel. FanDuel's got it all: same game parlays, quick bets for jumping in live, and your way, so you can build the bet that fits your parlay. Plus, don't miss out on holiday offers and surprises all month long. Download the FanDuel app or head to FanDuel.com/gamblers to get started. 21 plus and present in select states, or 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut.
Well, JJ's team, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a team that he refuses to fade, is playing tonight, Thursday Night Football, home against the Atlanta Falcons. We're also going to go through the primetime games, the big games of the week in the next segment. Bodega Locks has been an absolute struggle. We went from number one to, I don't even want to talk about it, but maybe we'll bounce back this week. So let's start with this game, Tampa Bay, Atlanta. The line has been all over the place, Raheem. I saw it -5.5, then it went to 4.5. As of this afternoon, it just bounced back to -5.5 Tampa. Total 43.5 jumped to 44.5. What do you make of this game?
yeah, I'm going to go first half under 22.5. If you look at both of these quarterbacks, both of them are struggling. Baker Mayfield has been struggling for a while. He's 35th out of 37th in EPA per play, 33rd in success rate since week 7. And you look at for the season, the Bucs are 26th in net success rate. So you're looking at an offense which really isn't the same as they were earlier on in the year. We know they suffered some injuries. Then you look at Kirk Cousins. We know he's struggling. And you look at this Falcons team, they've dropped 7 out of their last 8. Both of these teams are just absolutely reeling. So I just don't think the offenses are very great. And then the biggest thing here is that the Falcons, they struggle against the run. So you struggle against the run and you have a struggling quarterback in Baker Mayfield. That means you're going to be running the ball. And Bucky Irvin is back. And then the Falcons, the one thing they do well is that they rush the passer. So I don't see a lot of points. I think this game gets off to a very slow start. You got a divisional game. And then you got to remember, it was rainy the other day in Tampa Bay. So that field is not going to be the best conditions. So I like the first half under 22.5. What did Stringer Bell say? Keep it boring. That's what we're going to do.
Is this going to be boring, JJ?
I'm not going to get involved with the total. I am going to get involved in the spread. And I know a lot of the trends are going to point to Atlanta, Tampa.
Oh, no, you're going to back Baker again, aren't you?
Absolutely. And I'm going to tell you why. The Buccaneers.
I'm getting you a jersey.
Listen, I understand your point about the decline of the Buccaneers over the last few weeks. And Ariel, to my credit, might I add, I have not been lining up to the window the last month or so to go and bet the Buccaneers. In fact, if there's a little buyer's remorse for us with Bodega Locks, and I know we are struggling. We did have a 3-2 week. I just want to throw that out there. So maybe that'll get us going into the home stretch of the year. I like New Orleans last week plus the points. I thought 8.5 with this Tampa team was entirely too many. But let's acknowledge now, Tampa's the healthiest they've been in a long, long time. They're going to have all three of those outstanding receivers ready to rock and roll. Chris Godwin has looked much more like himself over the last few games. You get Mike Evans back, who I think will help you as far as third downs go. I think he'll help you as far as the red zone. I don't know how many snaps Mike Evans is going to play, but he's a presence in and of himself. And then, of course, you have Ibuka. So all three of those receivers are back. You have the Bucky Irving, Sean Tucker 1-2 punch. And gang, Atlanta stinks. I mean, let's just call it like it is. The Atlanta Falcons have invented ways to lose. They absolutely screwed up the end of the first half and the early part of the second half against the Seattle Seahawks. And you got to go and put your hard-earned American dollars on Kirk Cousins, who's ready to be sitting next to us doing the Ring of Gambling show in his L.L. Bean shirts. I'm out on Atlanta. I am not getting on board in a game that Tampa Bay absolutely has to have as far as getting their season back on track. I just can't trust Atlanta, especially when that offense, which is kind of hurting right now from a pass game perspective to begin with, is not going to have Drake London. I would have preferred this number at 4.5. I'm fine with it at 5.5. It's a get-right spot, a now or never spot. Even though Tampa's got these big games with Carolina coming up, can't screw around with another one in the division. I'll take the Buccaneers.
I like that you mentioned
push back
Drake
a little
London.
bit.
What?
I got to push back a little bit.
Back.
So this line went from 4.5 to 5.5. At what point is there value on Atlanta? Because if you look at that opening day game in which Atlanta and Tampa Bay played, Tampa Bay won by 3, 23-20. That line was Tampa -1. At what point are we getting to the point where, all right, this line has just moved way too much? Because you flip home field and you go from 5.5 to, you go from 1 to 5.5. It's just not making too much sense to me.
JJ?
Yeah, I get from a trend and a number perspective, people are going to go and take the Falcons. They are.
Yeah.
Because they're going to say NFC South game, rivalry game. These games are historically close. Atlanta has had success with Tampa Bay. I just don't like where the Falcons are at. From a Raheem Morris standpoint.
Is that just, I was going to say, is that a Kirk Cousins thing?
I think it's both. Ariel, listen, it is a Kirk Cousins thing because their pass game is non-existent. Drake London is not playing. We know how important he is to their success. And this is just a team that has been absolutely spiraling. Can I remind everybody, the Atlanta Falcons lost to the New York Jets 2 weeks ago. The Jets lost the game inexplicably. The Jets a week ago looked like a team that should be relegated from the NFL with the way they played the Miami Dolphins. And I know you could say this about a whole lot of teams, right? It's a week-to-week league. You never know who's showing up on any given Sunday.
The Bucs secondary just scares me, and Cousins is getting more playing time with this offense. I'm not saying I want to.
But he's 40-some years old, Ariel. He has shown nothing that would lead me to a position where I'm saying, yeah, I want to invest in Kirk. I mean, in all honesty, Ariel, you've watched these games that he's played since he's taken over for Michael Penix. Has the Falcon offense looked competent in any of them? I can't find an evidence that would say yes.
Well, if you go back to last year, Kirk Cousins had two of the best games that he's played in the last 2 years. You go back to the 31-26 win over the Buccaneers last year at the start of the year. Kirk Cousins, 276 yards, 23 for 29, 4 touchdowns. You go back to the second game in which they defeated the Buccaneers, 36-30. Kirk Cousins, 509 yards, 42 for 58, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. So Kirk Cousins, one coming off of an Achilles, has a history of beating up this Buccaneers defense, and this Buccaneers defense might be worse. I think both of these teams are actually spiraling right now. Now, I think the case for the Buccaneers is that you could say, even though they've lost 5 of 7, they've played a really brutal schedule. I mean, they've played some of the best teams in the league. You look at, you lose to the Patriots, you lose to the Bills, you lose to the Rams, you lose to the Lions. But losing to the Saints last week at home, that is a red flag. And the question I have for you was, this line has gone from 4.5 to 5. What is the limit that you're willing to take? At what point do you say, you know what, this line has gone too high? Is it 6? Is it 7? Is it 5.5? Like, where is that limit for you? It's
a good question. I don't think it's going to get beyond 6. I think max is what we're going to see is that 5.5 number that's at the bottom of our screen. I'm okay with 5.5. I'm going to give it out at 5.5. Again, it was 4.5 for most of the week. I'm cool with 5.5. You get to 6, I guarantee you we're going to get all. Let's put it this way, Raheem and Ariel. If it gets to 6, you're going to have all the short bettors coming in and taking the Falcons. I know that to be the case. So we're at 5.5. We're cool with it. We're locking it in. Let's go.
I saw a lot of the public money coming in on Tampa, but of course that's a lot of, that's to be expected with the recency bias of how the Falcons have looked. The way I'm going to play this game, you're going to laugh. Kirk Cousins over a half a rushing yard. It's not
okay.
enough. He's up against the Bucs defense that's allowing the most rushing yards per game to quarterbacks. In fact, 69% of quarterbacks have gone over their rushing yard prop when facing the Bucs. So over in 2 of 3 against Tampa in his career with 7 and 16 rushing yards. All we need is Kirk Cousins to run the football once. And again, obviously positive yardage. Over half a rushing yard. It is way too low. We're going to take the over there on Kirk Cousins rushing yards. So unconventional. Before we go to break, JJ, I know that you love these anytime touchdown scores in prime time. Who you got?
I do. Listen, it's a tradition unlike any other. Let's go 2 for 2 today. I mentioned the emergence of Chris Godwin, who has really shown some serious signs of life over the last few weeks, gaining and redeveloping that chemistry, that rapport, that camaraderie with Baker Mayfield. I know Evans is back. I know everybody loves the Buka. Let's take Chris Godwin, little over 2-1, to go and get you an anytime touchdown. And any other guy I'm going to give you, there's so much love shown the way of Bijan Robinson, and rightfully so. Tyler Algier has become a touchdown merchant. He gets a ton of burn. He gets a ton of reps. Tyler Algier, Chris Godwin. Let's go 2 for 2, Ariel.
Yeah, tale as old as time. JJ, 2 for 2 in prime time. Let's get to break, and after this, we've got some prime games to cover. Big games for the week, including my Baltimore Ravens, who have continued to annoy me this entire season. Stay here on the Ringer Gambling Show. We'll be right back. We're back on the Ringer Gambling Show, sponsored by FanDuel. Raheem Palmer, John Jastremski. I'm Ariel Epstein. We've got big games on the slate. Week 15 already in the NFL. I cannot believe it. And we're going to start with this very big divisional game between the Buffalo Bills and the New England Patriots. The game's in New England, yet Buffalo's laying 1.5, and the total's 49.5. JJ, what do you make of the Bills as short road favorites?
I think the line, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, is rather telling because New England is as hot as a firecracker. They have not lost since that fluky Pittsburgh game going back to September, for goodness sakes. And yet the odds makers have absolutely, positively no problem in installing Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills as small favorites in this particular game. And to me, this is a statement, show-me game for the Bills. Sooner or later, the New England Patriots are going to lose a game. I mean, let's be real. What are the Patriots going to rattle off 14, 15, 16 wins in a row? That I don't see. And I think there are some weaknesses that Buffalo can exploit within that New England defense. Remember, New England went into the Giant game 2 weeks ago pretty beat up. The Giants stink and couldn't take advantage. Their kicker is basically stubbing his toe trying to kick, like me hitting a wedge shot, for goodness sakes. Or then you have a punt return for a touchdown. Just the sort of stuff that can happen if you're going to be a big dog covering a number. To me, all year, Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills have had to hear about the renaissance and the resurgence of the New England Patriots, which really started that Sunday night, in which New England won a down-to-the-wire, ugly game against the Bills. I think this is the beginning of the Bills' ascent. I am going to capitalize on them as a small road favorite. And Josh Allen, and I know it's a totally different regime. Vrabel is here. Drake May is here. But historically speaking, this is a guy who has played brilliantly against the New England Patriots. I got no problem with this one. Maybe one of you guys will nominate it for a Ringer 107 play. Give me the Western New York Buffalo Bills.
Okay, I got 2 plays for this game. Let's go with the Buffalo Bills -1.5, and let's also go with the over 49.5. Look, we know Drake May has been incredible this season. I mean, obviously he had his way with the Buffalo Bills in the previous matchup, 22 of 30 for 273 yards. But there's a caveat here. When you look at this Patriots team, look at the quarterbacks that they faced this year. Geno Smith, Tua, old Aaron Rodgers, Bryce Young, Spencer Rattler, Cam Ward, Dylan Gabriel, a broken down Baker Mayfield, not the healthy one at the beginning of the season who was pulling rabbits out of a hat. They played Justin Fields, Joe Flacco, and Jackson Dart. They didn't even play Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston was in that game. It might have been a different game. So they haven't played many top quarterbacks outside of Josh Allen. And in that game, in which the Patriots won 23-20, the Bills lost by 3 in a game in which they had 2 fumbles and 1 interception, with 2 of those turnovers being inside the New England 10-yard line. So it takes 3 turnovers from the Bills in order for the Patriots to win by 3. That's saying something. And I think that suppressed the final score. So I really like the over because I just don't think this Patriots defense is nearly as good as what their metrics say. And I also like the Bills because this is a desperation spot. I think Josh Allen is playing on an MVP level, as is Drake May. But Josh Allen, I mean, we saw the way he balled out in that second half against the Cincinnati Bengals, and I think he'll continue that play this week. Also, you got to remember, the Patriots have had some significant injuries. Will Campbell is out, their left tackle. You look at Jarrett Wilson. He's been banged up. You look at, they also have, what's my guy's name? On the defensive line.
Mr. Williams.
Milton Williams, he's out. So there's some real problems here with this Patriots team. I know they're 11-2, but at some point in time, they got to come back down to earth, and it's this week. So let's go with the Bills -1.5. Let's also go with the over 49.5 because I think both of these offenses should drive up and down the field. Be able to score some points.
The Patriots have had the easiest schedule in NFL history. This time, now you get a Bills team that's heating up. And, I mean, it's winter, but heating up and going into the playoff race while everyone else in the AFC is seemingly, like the Chiefs, the Ravens, struggling. I'm going to say Drake May struggles a little bit throwing the football, under 20.5 completions. So he had 22 the last game, yet he's up against a Bills defense that's allowed the least completions per game to their opponents at just under 17. 85% of quarterbacks have gone under their completion prop when facing this Bills defense. And Drake May, against top 10 pass Ds, he's gone under in 3 of 5, but all 3 he went under were at home at Gillette. We're going under on the completions, 20.5 for Drake May in this game that I guess it seems like we all believe in the Buffalo Bills to cover this spread and win outright. Am I correct?
I think it reeks of a Ringer 107 play, and it's not going to be my nomination. I just want that on record because
I mean, it could be a group play.
It can be a group play. Just so you know, though, Ariel, there's a play I like a little bit more. Just saying.
That's definitely my nomination. Like, I like the Bills.
Ooh, spoiler alert. Raheem not wasting any time. Bills. And you know what, Raheem? I like it. We all like it.
You know what we all liked? The Ravens, and they suck. So we're never going to talk about the Ravens again when it comes to Ringer 107, but we can talk about the Ravens for this upcoming game. They get a rematch with the Cincinnati Bengals after making me watch them lose to the Bengals on Thanksgiving night, ruining my Thanksgiving at M&T Bank Stadium. Now they're in Cincy. The Ravens are laying 2.5 on the road in Cincy with a total of 51.5. JJ, I would say this is pretty telling of a line as well, with another divisional rival as a road favorite in Cincy.
Yeah, that may be true. I don't care. There's no way in the world I'm backing the Ravens. Ariel, you don't need me to tell you. Something is just clearly off with this team. And I know people are going to point to the Isaiah Likely play. They're going to look at the way that game unfolded against the Steelers and say, oh, well, maybe the Ravens were a little unlucky. Yeah, I could also argue Cincinnati had game 1 against Buffalo. And I'm not going to say they were unlucky because Joe Burrow made some terrible, terrible decisions. But what I've seen from Joe Burrow since he's come back off of the injury, looks like the same old Joe Burrow to me. He has been lights out. I thought, interceptions aside, he moved the ball at will on that Buffalo defense, finding Chase, finding Higgins, finding Gesicki.
Did you see Burrow's press conference, by the way, yesterday when he talked about all the the things going on off the field? That he said, quote, there's a lot of things going on off the field that it seemed kind of sad.
Yeah, it was a little cryptic. It was a little odd, but I feel like when he gets to Sunday, he kind of compartmentalizes all that stuff and just balls out. And I'm going to go with the quarterback. Simply put, sometimes you need simple analysis. Sometimes I think we overthink these games. Joe Burrow is playing much better football at this point in time than Lamar Jackson. He just is. Lamar does not look like Lamar for whatever the reason. I think Cincinnati has shown they have not quit. They have played spirited each of the last 2 weeks. I think that continues. I take the Bengals outright. I think they covered at 2.5.
Yeah, I'm not playing this game at all. I absolutely hate this game. And you go back to the game on Thanksgiving, and the Baltimore Ravens, they had 5 turnovers. You lose 32-14. You have 5 turnovers. You look at yards per play, 6.1 yards per play for Baltimore. They kind of got whatever they wanted on offense. And I think if Isaiah Likely doesn't fumble that ball into the end zone, I think that game goes a little bit different. I think sometimes NFL games take on a life of their own. I said this last week, and I truly believe that. And then also you look at what the Bengals did last week against the Buffalo Bills. You could say that they were unlucky with the 2 interceptions, but they went 10 for 12 on third down. At some point in time, like, you have to have some type of regression. So I think the Bengals have been fortunate the last 2 games. And so I don't really want to play this game. I don't know what Lamar is. And right now, it doesn't feel like the Ravens can rush the passer. So I'm just not seeing an edge on either side of this game. I can understand JJ's perspective. It does feel like the Ravens are a sinking ship, but this is the NFL. A lot of times when you see a team going down, they at just a snap of a finger, it kind of goes the other way. So I'm not seeing an edge here. I'm going to completely stay away from this game. I'm not going to touch it with a 10-foot pole. I'm going to be watching it, but no bet for me.
At some point, you have to stop blaming the refs if you're the Ravens because, yeah, it was back-to-back weeks of bad calls. The Ravens just keep losing those games, and they're playing terrible football. It is worth noting that even though he hasn't played the last few weeks, the Bengals' defensive end, Trey Hendrickson, officially got placed on injured reserve, according to Adam Schefter. The hip pelvis injury, it needs surgery this week in Philly. You should expect him to be sidelined for 6 weeks. Trey Hendrickson, the biggest off-story season for the Bengals this year. Off-season story, they finally signed him, and then he gets hurt midway through the year. So he won't be in this game. The way that I'm going to play it, and I know it sounds like a homer play, but it's not because I absolutely hate backing the Ravens in any way. Lamar Jackson over 1.5 passing touchdowns. It's minus 135. He's had 2 and 4 touchdown passes in Cincinnati. You would never normally get this number, but because Lamar's playing so poorly, you're getting a 1.5 at minus 135. Since he's allowed the 3rd most passing touchdowns in the league at 2 a game, and 62% of quarterbacks have gone over their passing touchdown prop when facing the Bengals this season. Lamar had a horrible game against the Bengals on Thanksgiving. He threw 0 touchdown passes. Then he starts commenting on people's pages on X who are talking smack about him, and he said, say less. Lamar's going to come out with some fury, and I can't back Derrick Henry because his rushing yard prop is just too high at 86.5. I like to back what didn't happen in game 1. And it's not like these 2 teams played in week 1. These 2 teams played a couple of weeks ago. Familiarity, you're going to adjust. The game plan's going to be different. Divisional rival. Lamar's going to throw, and he's going to go over 1.5 passing touchdowns. And King Henry's going to help spread out that offense with running the football against a bad run D in the Cincinnati Bengals. There's another game that's really big. Green Bay Packers coming off a big win over the Chicago Bears. They're getting the Denver Broncos. And the Broncos this year have been good. They're in number 1 of the division right now. Yet they're home dogs against the Packers. Packers minus 2.5 in Denver. Total went up 41.5 to 42.5. Still a low total. 4:25 p.m. Eastern time game. Raheem, both spots seem like interesting spots for these teams, especially with the Packers in a sandwich spot having to face Chicago next week. How do you see this game playing out?
Yeah, this is a Packer spot. I think it's a Packer smash spot. We know that the Denver Broncos, they've been playing in all of these one-score games. Eventually, it has to catch up to them, and I think this is the spot against a Packers defense and an offense which is really finding their way. With Jayden Reed back, I just think this number is probably short. So I'm going to lay it with the Packers. It feels like it's going to be
just enticing teasers right now. They want us all to tease the Packers. I mean, they want us all to tease the Broncos.
The Broncos and the Pats, let's be honest, Ariel, on both of them.
They're begging us to tease the Broncos here.
Yeah, it's so funny. We're actually fading the 2 best teams in the league, but I think it's saying something that both of these teams, in the Broncos and the Patriots, they're dogs this week. I think that, like, every line tells a story. I think they're telling a hell of a story this week.
Raheem, you mentioned smash spot, baby. I'm going to go and give you a spoiler for the Ringer 107, too. I absolutely adore the Green Bay Packers, and I don't care if they got the Bears 2 of the last 3 weeks. To me, this has everything to do with the way this team is ascending. And I was critical in the midpoint of this year, saying, hey, all the metrics love Green Bay, but yet they have these weird clunkers of games. Well, they're starting to find their footing on offense. The return of Christian Watson, to me, cannot be understated. He has become a weapon for Jordan Love. Jordan Love loves finding him down the field, no pun intended. He's become a big-time red zone threat. We know the Packers can run with a physicality and a toughness with Josh Jacobs. You've seen a lot of that over the last couple of weeks, and that defense is going to make the life of Bo Nix absolutely miserable on Sunday. And hey, record-wise, Denver, New England, rocking and rolling. Yet the odds makers say, not so fast. They're both going to be underdogs. I can tell you what Bodega Locks is going to be doing. We're going to look at those lines, and we're going to say Buffalo, yes. And we're going to say Green Bay, yes. Double check mark. I know we're picking the big games of the week. Prop Queen, Packers, 2 for 2. Can we make it 3 for 3?
I hope so. I love the Green Bay Packers this week, getting the Denver Broncos. And the way that I like this game, too, from a prop perspective, is going with the Denver quarterback Bo Nix to go under his rushing yard prop at 17.5 yards. You talk about home road splits, guys. And I talked about it last week with Jonathan Taylor of the Colts because he averages 30 rushing yards less per game on the road. Bo Nix at home actually is averaging about 10 rushing yards less per game. He averages 13 rushing yards a game at home, just under 24 rushing yards a game when on the road. Yet he's getting a Packers D that is really good at containing quarterbacks. The Packers this year, they're allowing the second least rushing yards per game to quarterbacks. 77% of quarterbacks have gone under their rushing yard prop when facing the Packers. I liked how Bo Nix, I looked at the other games that he had against teams that are top 10 in rushing yards allowed to quarterbacks. And he went under in 3 of those 4 games. This year, he went 3 for 20 against the Colts, and that was on the road again, where he runs more. But after that, he faced Vegas, -2 rushing yards, 15 rushing yards. Then on the road at Washington, had 16. So these defenses, when they are good at containing quarterbacks, they're good at containing Bo Nix. He's going under 17.5 rushing yards. It's -120. Catch it before it drops anymore. Anything else you guys want to touch on? Any other primetime games, even though we'll probably talk about them in Royal Lock? I mean,
I'm
Go ahead, Raheem.
I actually want to jump ahead next week. I want to.
Whoa, okay, forget about this week. You're already looking at next week. I love it, big boy.
You're the problem, Raheem. If you were a coach, you can't look ahead. I'm just kidding. Go.
Yeah, give me the Bears +3, +3.5 against the Green Bay Packers the following week. That's what I want.
Okay, why?
I think that game's a coin flip. And I think they're going to be getting 3 at home against a team where, if you go back and break down that game, essentially, like if they convert that 4th down, they might have won that game because they were going for 2. So I think you flip home field advantage. I think it's a great spot for the Bears. I think the Bears are going to cover that number next week. They might even win outright.
Okay. I actually have a side. What do you think, JJ? What do you think?
Noted. I can't think that far on Packers Bears, but I give our guy Raheem credit for it. Listen, more power to him. If he sees value in the line, he thinks things are going to go a certain way, and he feels good about it. Great. Go for it. I want to look at this game though, and I want your take, Ariel, and I want your take, Raheem. The Colts and the Seahawks. Why? Because Fat Phillip Rivers is coming off the sidelines potentially. And I love me some Phillip Rivers.
You think he's actually playing, or he's just going to be a mentor on the sidelines?
Ariel, he's eligible for the Hall of Fame. You're telling me now all of a sudden, Phillip Rivers, who has been retired since the 2020 season, is going to now delay this by 5 years to go and put an Indianapolis Colts.
He's bored. He's like a grandpa.
If he's bored, he wants to play. He did not come out of retirement to go and mentor Riley Leonard. So you want to tell me, all right, he's not going to play this week against Seattle. Perhaps. Maybe he needs a week to get his body acclimated and whatnot. He's going to play at some point this year. I'd be stunned he's doing all of this to just basically go and be an assistant coach. At that point, go and be an assistant coach. What do we make, though, Raheem, of the possibility of something that we have never seen, we've never handicapped? I don't even know how you can put into numbers and into perspective the idea of someone coming off of a high school football sideline, going to play quarterback in an NFL football game when he has not played an NFL football game potentially since the last presidential term, for goodness sakes. It's 4+ years. How in the world do we figure this one out, Raheem?
Well, the market bet Phillip Rivers down to 15-1 to win comeback player of the year. So apparently some people think that he's going to come out and lead the Colts to the postseason. And if that happens, then they're going to be correct in placing those comeback player of the year tickets. Me personally, I'm not going to do anything with it at this current number. I think all the value is completely sucked out of it. I think this could go either really bad or better than people expect. I'm just going to sit down and watch. As far as this week against the Seattle Seahawks, I don't think he's going to play. I do think there's value on the Indianapolis Colts because I think that line should probably be around 9. But what is Riley Leonard? I don't know what he is. So I just have more questions than answers at this point, and I'm not going to pretend I have the answers. I'm not Allen Iverson.
I'm staying so far away from that game. I know people are going to say, oh, but we want action. No, we don't. We don't want action on that. I don't bet on gambling's already so uncertain, guys. I don't need to bet on more uncertainty in this league. We have enough games to choose from. It's not a Monday night, Sunday night, Thursday night game. Stay away. Seems easy.
I get it, Ariel. But from an intrigue standpoint, maybe not.
You think it's too many points for the Colts? You think that the injuries and everything, that no one's worth as many points as it is?
I'm not touching the game. There's just way too many question marks. But from a watchability standpoint, from a level of intrigue, I think it's as must-see as any game you could have this week. If I find out today...
Phillip Rivers put on some weight. And he was always a thick dude, but he looked...
No, he looked chunky. He looked like he's been spending a lot of Sundays after coaching high school football, pounding chicken wings and drinking Miller Lights.
He's the high school football coach that used the golf cart.
Yeah, I don't know if he's that bad. I think he can walk
around
a little
he's not,
bit. But
he gained some weight.
The gut was rather noticeable, and he made it clear that it was rather noticeable. But I guess the good news for Phillip Rivers was not exactly, Michael Vick, was not exactly Tim Tebow running around when he was a quarterback. You know what I mean, Ariel?
Phillip Rivers, the whole thing with him is just he can't go down. He's that thick. You can't take him down. He's just going to stay upright. He might not move well, but he's going to stay upright. I've got some Queen's Corner to get to, props that I like, 3 props going into the weekend. And I actually already touched on a lot of the ones that I liked, so I had to come up with new ones since we addressed some of the games that I really enjoy, really like props. I've got 2 longest reception props and then 1 tight end prop that I'm very nervous about, but it's just something I've always done. Starting with the longest reception prop, Washington's wide receiver, Terry McLaurin, to go over 22.5 yards for his longest reception. He did not go over this in the first matchup with the Giants back on September 7th. I always love to bet what didn't happen in the first matchup of divisional games. And now McLaurin, who has gone over this in 5 of 6 road games with Marcus Mariota under center, went over in 2 of 3 road games this year, and just under 31 yards per longest reception is what he's averaging on the road without the tight end Zach Ertz, who's now out for the season. The Giants allowed the 4th most receiving yards per game to wide receivers. So we're going to go Terry McLaurin. Scary Terry goes over his longest reception. Rams wide receiver Davante Adams also to go over his 22.5-yard longest reception. Also getting a defense struggling against wide receivers. Detroit, they've allowed the 5th most receiving yards per game to the position. And against bottom 10 defenses this year against wide receivers, Adams has had 25, 33, 21, and 24 yards for a longest catch. He's gone over in 5 of 6 home games this year. And 60% of wide receivers went over their longest catch against Detroit in the last 10 games. Didn't have a big catch last week, but guess who did? Puka Nacua has had 3 straight weeks going over his longest reception prop. Let's give it to somebody else. Davante Adams goes over his. The scary one. It's a trend that I've backed since last year. We're going to fade tight ends against the Eagles, and that's Vegas's Brock Bowers to go under 50.5 receiving yards. He's 1-1 against teams that are top 10 against tight ends. The Chargers he faced twice. He had 38 receiving yards and 63. I know he's averaging above this, 58 on the road, but Philly's allowed the least receiving yards per game to tight ends. 64% went under. There's not many weapons to have to worry about in Vegas. Brock Bowers is going to be the main guy they're going to try to take out of the game for the Raiders, and the Eagles can do it since they are the best against the position. So I would say fade Brock Bowers this week under 50.5 receiving yards. JJ, any stand out to you?
Yeah, I'm dying to jump in on the last one you just brought up because I absolutely love it. You think about the Raider passing attack, which is atrocious to begin with. They say goodbye to Geno Smith. They have to go on the road to play a very angry, ticked-off Philadelphia Eagle defense. And Vic Fangio does a brilliant job of acknowledging, hey, what is the one element within your offense we have to go and kind of neutralize? They know it's Brock Bowers. So they're going to put Kenny Pickett in a position where he has to go and try to find other guys. the Raiders really, to try to keep this game somewhat competitive, they're going to have to run the football a ton, because if they're doing drop back scenarios, Eagle pass rush against that Raider offensive line, it is going to be a nightmare. I don't see how Bowers can go off in this game. So out of any of the three you mentioned there, Prop Queen, the one that I actually just bet while you were giving us this wonderful piece of analysis is your Brock Bowers play. And it's kind of an emotional hedge for me because I'm in fantasy football. So if he scores, you know what? At least
he could score, though. He could score. Who cares if it's not for a lot of yardage?
Go for 40 yards with a touchdown. Amen to that. But that was my favorite of the three.
Raheem?
Yeah, I think I would go with Devontae Adams. I think last week you saw some sharp money on George Pickens over against the Lions. And I think this is in the same vein. I think you're looking at a Lions secondary, which really isn't very good. Now, I don't think George Pickens had his best game last week, but I think Devontae Adams can, make up for that. So I like this one.
Especially when the public always loves some Puka Nacua. We're going to go zig while everybody zags with Devontae Adams. Thanks, guys, for all your confirmation of how I'm going to go and bet these props for Queen's Corner. Coming up now, we're going to do, we've got a break. And then coming up after the break, we're going to do our Bodega Locks for Ringer 107. Let's come back. We need to get to the top of the leaderboard. Our favorite spreads of the week here on the Ringer Gambling Show. Back here on the Ringer Gambling Show, sponsored by FanDuel. What's also sponsored by FanDuel? Ringer 107. It is our pick'em contest all football season. It's us. Shout out Bodega Locks, Sal and DeBundo, Fantasy Guys, Bill Simmons, and House and Chill. It's week 15 picks for our Bodega Locks, and we need to get to the top of the leaderboard. We've been number one pretty much all season to the last couple of weeks. Honestly, I'm blaming your trip to Madrid, JJ. That was kind of when things went downhill.
Ariel, I don't like excuses. And I have no one to blame but myself. But here's what I do know. There's 4 weeks left in the regular season. This competition extends into the postseason. So we are not done after week 18.
Okay, that's good.
And guess what? There's not exactly a runaway freight train that's at the leader of the pack.
It could have been us.
It could have been, but you know what? Coulda, shoulda, woulda. No excuses. It's about
so give us a winner.
It's about what we can do in the future. And we're going to have a monster week 15. I feel really good about this card. I can't wait to watch all these games on Sunday. And the game I'm going to give you is one we already discussed. The Green Bay Packers laying the 2.5 against the Denver Broncos. I think Bo Nix is going to have a ton of trouble against that Packer defense. Jordan Love is ascending. Physicality of the running game. The return of Christian Watson. And doesn't the line tell you something? Denver, unbelievable at home. Denver, great home field advantage. No problem. Packers are laying 2.5. Packers win this game, and they win it by double digits. I wish we could do an alternate spread. We can't do an alternate spread. 2.5 is fine by me. Packers, play number one.
Raheem, what you
play number two. Let's go with the Buffalo Bills minus 1.5. Wish we could kind of get the money line, but I think they win this game. So I already broke down this game earlier. I really like the Buffalo Bills. I think this is a good spot for them. Desperation spot. They got to win this game. Love the Buffalo Bills.
Okay, so we've got the Packers. We've got the Bills. I'm throwing in the Cleveland Browns. Shedeur Sanders has looked better.
Let's do it, Ariel.
It's 7.5 when the Bears are in like the worst possible sandwich spot ever. They just lost 28-21 after a pick in the end zone to end the game for Caleb Williams last week to their division rivals. Then they have to turn around and face them again next week. It's 7.5. And I'm not saying the Bears are going to overlook the game and not care because, of course, every win counts going into the playoff race. However, the Bears don't need to win by margin. It's 7.5. I'm taking the points with the better defense, which is the Cleveland Browns. And I know a lot of these guys want to back Shedeur. It's not, the Browns are out of it and they're not going to care. They do want to prove that maybe, just maybe, they have their quarterback of the future. Browns are going to play hard. Defense is great. Chicago, overrated. Your schedule is too easy. I'm taking the points, plus 7.5. Cleveland Browns, do not disappoint me, please.
Listen, Ariel, I endorse this pick for what it's worth. Cleveland Raheem has been a team all year. It feels like you want to ride them and you want to be with them when they're playing at home. It's been a much different animal for them when they've played on the road. And even that game they didn't cover against San Francisco a couple of weeks ago, Stefanski coached a terrible game. They had a lot of wacky things happen against them. Way too many points for the Browns. I love this one from the prop queen. Full-fledged endorsement, Dream.
Yeah, we all like each other's picks. Yeah,
it makes sense to me. I mean, I don't like to play against the Bears this year because
I was going to say they're Raheem's dogs this year. You know, Raheem loves the Bears. He loves the Panthers and he loves the Bears. They're his adopted teams, you know?
But yeah, like I totally understand. I mean, 7 is the high number for this team to cover. And you're asking, basically the Bears have been winning based on turnovers. So that's pretty much the cap on this game. If the Browns don't turn the ball over, they have a real shot at winning this game.
So we've got the Packers, the Bills, the Browns. Raheem, who do you want to throw in the hat? 2 more.
I'm going to let you guys decide.
Can I nominate one? I have a nomination. I have a nomination. How do we feel about the New Orleans Saints getting 2.5 against the Carolina Panthers? At home, they already beat Carolina earlier this year.
See, that's when I don't like it.
But it's a massive trap game for the Panthers. Everyone thinks they're hot you-know-what after beating the Rams outright. They're feeling their oats after coming off the bye. And who do they have next week, Ariel? The Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And here's the only problem I have. I nominated the Saints a few weeks ago against Atlanta, and the game was an absolute disgusting display of football that
That's what you're going to get.
Well, I think the line, though, tells you New Orleans. I think New Orleans at home. Carolina, I'm not laying 2.5 with them in a division game when they got the Bucs next week. That's one that I would nominate. Here's another one I would nominate, and it's gross. It's really gross for him. New York Giants laying 2.5 against the Washington Commanders. Giants got to win a game eventually. I think Washington will get up for maybe 1 or 2 more games. It's not going to be this one. When they play the Cowboys, they might get up. They have 2 games with the Eagles. Like, those are games that are going to bring out that blood level of competition. I think a sleepy MetLife Stadium, Jackson Dart with something to prove. I know laying points with the Giants sounds outrageous, but those are 2 that I would nominate.
And I'm going to nominate the Miami Dolphins. We just got word, and it's not the only handicap. We just got word that TJ Watt is in the hospital for discomfort in his ribs. So now he's questionable going into this week for the Pittsburgh Steelers up against the Miami Dolphins. Primetime game, Dolphins catching 3. And the Steelers just came off a huge win over my Baltimore Ravens that the refs definitely assisted. I won't go off on my rant about how horrible the refs were in that game against the Ravens. But
I thought we
the
weren't
Steelers
blaming the
aren't that
refs,
great.
Ariel. I thought we weren't blaming the refs. I thought that's what losers do. You're worse on mine.
Because they did. The refs did do that game.
The likely call was horrible. I'll give you
know, the likely call was bad, but if Ben Roethlisberger, thinking of 2 of the same old quarterbacks, Aaron Rodgers under center for the Steelers, Aaron Rodgers goes down to his knees holding on to the football, but that's a catch. And the Isaiah Likely one, not a catch. So anyway, the Steelers are not as great of a team as they seemingly were for beating their division rivals last week. I know Miami and Tua in cold weather is never great. It's hard to back it. But especially now, if the Steelers are going to be without TJ Watt, I like Miami in the spot. And I know that's your team, JJ, and I know you don't love it, but I do like catching the 3 in prime time.
I understand the Dolphins are running the ball great. They're playing much better defense. And
Steelers' run D is not good either.
Let's give Mike McDaniel a lot of credit. He took so much crap at the beginning of the year, people making fun of him, making fun of his pants. His team has played their ass off. I know it's a soft schedule, but they haven't quit. I give him a lot of credit for that. That said, Raheem, you know this. I've been watching the Miami Dolphins my entire life. This is a game the Dolphins go gimp again and again and again and again and again. The Dolphins lose this game in frigid sub-zero temperatures from Marino to Jay Fiedler to Ryan Tannehill to Tua. That's my only pushback. I get it. 3.5 you might be able to sell me. It's 3 now on FanDuel. I'll defer. So we threw a couple out.
Raheem, you've got Miami, New Orleans, and the New York Giants to choose from.
Anything else you like?
And we have 3 minutes.
Okay. One that stands out to me. Oh, God. Kansas City Chiefs.
Yes,
we were talking about that before the start of the show when you were getting your setup in order.
Yeah.
That
Fishy
line tells you something, doesn't it, Dream? Because
that's the fishiest line on the board.
the Chargers are rolling. They beat the Chiefs earlier this year. The line was at 4.5. Now it moved to 5.5. That is a little ratty. And I think it's Chiefs surpassing that spot, especially with the Chargers coming off a short week, correct?
I think the biggest thing is that, one, it's outside. We know that the Chargers' offensive line is just so bombed out and depleted. They gave up a 70% pressure rate to the Eagles last week. I think that game was more about the Eagles' offense than it was the Chargers. And I was on the Chargers last week, but I look at that game and I say to myself, if the Chiefs can generate some pressure, they could win this game by a touchdown or more. And this is like a make or break game. And
I'll back the Chiefs.
So it's like it. I can get that.
I mean, the number is ugly, obviously. The Chiefs, I mean, they've been losing all these one-score games, but I think the Chargers could legitimately miss the postseason because you have Justin. It's one thing for Justin Herbert to, play with the messed up hand indoors. It's another thing to play with the messed up hand outside against a Chiefs defense, which is just super desperate. So if there's a spot to play the Chiefs, it's this week.
I will definitely endorse the Chiefs. This line stinks. There's no reason to be laying 5.5 against the Chargers unless the book is telling us to lay 5.5 against the Chargers.
All right, so let's put Kansas City as our fourth. We need one more.
One more. Miami, Giants, Saints. Any takers? Any takers?
Dream, I gave out 2. Ariel gave 1. Out of 3.
I think any of those except for Miami, just because I just can't. I just don't trust Tua and Coldwater. That's the only thing that's killing me.
Or the Dolphins.
But
or
any
the
of those,
Dolphins. No question.
I'll back the Saints because of the spot against the Panthers.
You guys don't want to get on board with the Giants. Okay.
No.
By the way,
I want nothing to do with the Giants.
I want this on record.
I'm fine. I'm fine with any of them. To be honest, I understand you picking.
You like the Saints a little bit more, Ariel.
I just have no interest to back the Giants in any capacity in a divisional game. Let me see. Giants. So they lost 21-6 to Washington. But again, it's such a weird
Russell Wilson was the quarterback, remember?
Yeah.
Let's go with the Saints. You like the Saints better. Let's not overthink it. New Orleans, plus 2.5. Done.
I mean, I don't love it, but I'll take it. Saints. So Packers, Bills, Browns, Chiefs, Saints.
Done. Week 15. Don't suck.
Week 15, Bodega Locks. Lock it in. Today's Ringer 107 brought to you by FanDuel. And remember, odds are subject to change. We've got best bets. We're going to talk NBA Cup. Stay here on the Ringer Gambling Show, sponsored by FanDuel, because, of course, you want to make sure that you go into the weekend with money in your pocket, and JJ needs to get ready for the holidays. Final segment here on this Thursday on this Ringer Gambling Show. I already feel like it's the NFL day. It is. It's Thursday Night Football. We've got Jastremski, Raheem, Palmer, NBA Cup also in action. We've got now down to the Magic and Knicks, Spurs, Thunder, NBA Cup. Raheem, what do you got?
Well, I don't really want to make a move on the NBA Cup yet, but I do have an NBA total for tonight. I'm going to go Clippers, Rockets over 220.5. You caught my segment yesterday on FanDuel Sports Network. I did give out the Oklahoma City Thunder minus 120 to win the whole NBA Cup, and I think they're going to win this thing. That's the only thing they haven't won yet. I mean, they've already won an NBA title. They already have an MVP. So minus 120 was a ton of value considering that they're going to be double-digit favorites to any single team that they play. So I'm kind of going to ride with that. They're 10-point favorites against the San Antonio Spurs. I'm not sure if Wemby is coming back for that matchup yet. So I don't want to touch that game. I am leaning towards the Knicks in a revenge spot. So it's 4 right now. Obviously, I want to see some injury information, but
Franz Wagner, any update on him?
Yeah, I still want to wait on that. So that's where I'm leaning.
Hey, the Knicks did send him out. That was the problem. That's who injured him. But who are you going into the weekend? What's your best bet?
Oh yeah, Clippers Rockets over 220.
Oh, that's the best bet.
Yes.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you were going NFL or anything. JJ, what you got in the NFL?
So I'm fired up for this NBA Cup first and foremost. Saturday, no college football. Going to need something to watch. Knicks beat the Magic on Sunday. So I think they can parlay that success. First time in Vegas for these semifinals. I will take them laying the 4.5 against Orlando. And as far as the NFL is concerned, you know where I'm going, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Green Bay Packers laying the 2.5, and an underdog special, the New Orleans Saints outright against the Carolina Panthers.
I've got a prop for tonight in Thursday Night Football that I didn't mention, and it's not my best bet, but I do want to mention this trend. In games without Drake London, tight end of the Falcons, Kyle Pitts, has gone over his longest reception prop in 9 of 10 games, so keep that in mind. My best bet, Kirk Cousins over his half a rushing yard, is at plus 110. I actually saw that one of the most bet on props today is the under on Kirk Cousins rushing. So I'm going to fade the public, but he's gone over this in 2 of 3 games against the Bucs. Tampa's allowed the most rushing yards per game to their opponents, and we lost Raheem, which means it's the end of the show. Ringer Gambling Show brought to you by FanDuel. Raheem Palmer, John Jastremski. I'm the prop queen, Ariel Epstein. We'll see you next week.
Must be 21 or older and present in select states, or 18 or older and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. You must be 21 or older and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 or older and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit FanDuel.com/RG, 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut, or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 877-8-HOPE-NEW YORK or text HOPE New York in New York.